Welcome to the Parker Podcast Collection.
Welcome to the Not Watching Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and this week I'm joined by
Ian Bruce and Marcus Hurley.
Okay, I think this is the episode in which I tell you a bunch of movies you need to see.
Yes.
Cool. Right. So I've seen some movies over the last few weeks. I'm doing these in rough order of how much I like them. So let's get.
Okay.
So The Girl with All the Gifts is a zombie movie which stars Glenn Close in terrifying form, I must say. Also, Paddy Considine's in there and Gemma Arterton, all of them on fine form. Of course, the standout is Senya Nanau, who plays Melanie, who is a girl. At the start of this movie, it's in the trailer, you see these girls, these kids rather, they're all kind of strapped to chairs and they're wheeled into this classroom. And it becomes clear that there's something wrong with them. And basically all hell breaks loose. The four of them and a couple of others end up on a bit of a sort of road trip, I suppose, walking through this zombie-infested land. Visually, it takes its cues from the video game The Last of Us quite heavily, as in there's... rather than ruins, there's a lot of greenery and stuff that's grown over buildings and stuff like that, which really reminded me of The Last of Us. Of course, the kid as well, and the dynamic between the older people that are kind of protecting her, maybe. That kind of also massively reminded me of The Last of Us. For those that don't know, that aren't into games, The Last of Us is a video game made by Sony a couple of years ago. It's very good. Check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's really good. It's a British movie. At times, it made me believe that it was almost in the same world as the 28 Days movies. We're talking fast zombies here. But the viral infection is of a fungal nature. So
aren't they all?
Yeah, but it's cool because the conceit is that there's these areas where I think once they're hungry, or unless they smell humans, they're kind of in a like torpid state where they just stand around. So they can kind of, there's scenes where they're sort of working their way through these huge hordes of zombies that are just asleep.
Commuters in London, is that what you mean?
Yeah, maybe, waiting for a bus,
right.
But they're everywhere. But yeah, really, really good zombie movie. Great performances. Glenn Close is brilliant. She's playing like the doctor, and she wants this little girl, like, because she thinks she can make a cure out of her. So you end up with a little bit of a ulterior motive in there as well, which leads to some interesting moments. Yeah.
Without giving the ending away, please, do you think it could become a series like The 28s? Do you think? Oh no, I'll rephrase that. Is the world big enough, or does the world have any opportunities for it to have a sequel, or is it just without no spoilers? No spoilers.
No. I don't think so. I think it's pretty self-contained, and it would be quite difficult. The ending is not what I expected, but it's very. I think at first I was a bit like, and then when I thought about it a little more, I was like, no, that was perfect. So yeah, it's been getting some really good reviews. Of course, other than myself, it's been doing really well critically, and I'd urge anyone to see it. It looks fantastic. It was great on the big screen, and yeah, it's definitely worth checking out.
Okay.
What's next? Don't Breathe is a horror movie.
This does look good.
Yeah, which is very cool. This features Stephen Lang as a blind man whose house is burgled by three young people. They think he's going to be a cakewalk and it's going to be an easy in and out job. However, he obviously has some kind of military background, and he's blind. So whereas the dark is a problem for the infiltrators, it isn't for him.
Yeah.
So I won't go into any more detail, really. It goes very dark in the final third, but there's some brilliant scenes of where the actors have obviously been shot in the dark. They're feeling their way around, and Stephen Lang's character is almost like the Predator. You know, he has mastery of the shadows, and
or like the monsters in The Descent.
Possibly, yeah, similar to that. There are scenes where like he'll just appear in a doorway, and they'll be like moving out of the way of him, trying not to breathe, and he's right in their face.
Cool.
It's really quite cool. It's directed by Fede Alvarez, who was responsible for the recent remake of Evil Dead, which was all right. Looked good. Definitely, did that property justice. But yeah, definitely check that out. That's a really cool horror film. One of the best I've seen this year. It's very visceral. Is
it very choppy and bloody?
Not especially. It's kind of, I'd put it in the same ballpark maybe as Green Room, in that it's a horror movie, but there's nothing supernatural about it. But
Green Room was very choppy.
Yeah, but I mean, just in the fact that was horrific, and it was horror, but it was not supernatural. But it's much more intense than that movie. This film had me and it does some really amazing like tracking shots, so you get like the layout of the house in your head, so you sort of have an idea of where they are. And it's quite claustrophobic. It definitely borrows from some classic movies here and there, but it's really good. That's another film. If anyone's seen anything else, feel free to jump in. I've got a few more to get through here. Okay, I'll carry on.
Yeah, go for it.
I've not. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Hunt for the Wilderpeople. This is a movie by Taika Waititi, who is currently making the new Thor movie, and was previously responsible for What We Do in the Shadows. This was apparently supposed to be his first film, but didn't work out. It's had a very limited run. Wasn't around in my town. Had to travel further afield to see it. It's a really sweet movie. It's basically this kind of slightly overweight kid is in the foster care system, and basically he's known to be a bit of trouble, and so he's been moved from house to house, and eventually finds himself dumped with this couple who live out in the middle of nowhere. The dad is played by Sam Neill at his most grizzled and grumbly, and
cool. Okay.
Through I won't spoil too much, but they end up basically on the run. There's a national manhunt for him and the kid, and they're running across the plains of New Zealand, trying to like live by their wits and stay out of trouble and away from all the people that are after them. It leads to some absolutely hilarious moments. And
is it a comedy then, or is it just a bit of a dark, a drama with some funny bits?
Well, it's definitely comedy. It's got like
Is it like What We Do in the Shadows?
He's Taika Waititi. He was in What We Do in the Shadows. He was playing one of the vampires, and he does have a part in this movie, which is he's like hamming it up like Michael Palin, sort of. I won't spoil what he's doing in it, but also the guy who plays one of the werewolves from that movie. The guy who's the manager in Flight of the Conchords, he shows up as well.
Okay.
And it's fucking brilliant. It's definitely a comedy, and it's got that kind of weird sort of New Zealand wit to it.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely worth seeking out. A lot of people are saying like movie of the year. I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but it's definitely up there. Okay, a movie I saw quite recently, in fact, this week was Deepwater Horizon, based on the horrific, tragic events of the Deepwater Horizon in 2010. This is a film by Peter Berg and stars Mark Wahlberg and Kurt Russell.
So isn't this because he did Lone Survivor with him as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
With him?
Yeah, he's becoming like a bit of a docudrama man.
Scorsese type.
Yeah. But yeah, it's some interesting things about Deepwater Horizon. First of all, it's a great movie. And I do feel it is a bit weird kind of going, it's a great movie when it was based on this horror and people died and stuff. But
we did that from Titanic.
True. This is a bit like, this wasn't too long ago though, really. But I don't know. So it's really good. They built the rig, like it's a real set they used. I think there is lots of CG involved, obviously, to get all the fire happening and stuff. And the explosion when it happens, like, pushed me back in my chair. It was incredible. The sound is awesome, actually. Apparently, if you can get to a Dolby Atmos theatre, it's supposed to be really, really good.
Cool.
And things play out like most disaster movies go. But I don't know. I'm definitely getting a feeling. I know Peter Berg. You're saying he's doing like a lot of these things based on real events, and he's he's doing the Boston film. Like that's
he did do Battleship as well, so he doesn't always do real stuff.
Yeah, that
wasn't real.
But sometimes studio contracts have to be fulfilled. So
that's it. He did Hancock as well. I think that was another film he did.
Okay.
And
also another documentary.
He also always does little cameos in his films, and I spotted him straight away in this.
Excellent.
I think of him. I came away thinking of Peter Berg as like a kind of thinking man's Michael Bay, like he's kind of got that sort of command of the military and stuff, but seems to be making possibly more. I don't know what the word is. Worthy efforts. I don't know. More credible films, perhaps.
Credible,
rather than robots that turn into cars.
It kind of reminds me of the old sort of thrillers and disaster movies like The Tower and Inferno and Earthquake.
It's totally in that
genre. It almost feels
genre.
like Wahlberg's almost fallen into that Charlton Heston mould of the 70s.
Yeah, kind of. He is really good in this, Mark Wahlberg, and so is Kurt Russell actually. But Mark Wahlberg, I think they tried to go for that Captain Phillips thing. I don't know if you've seen that movie where at the end of it Hanks is like shaking, like visibly shaking.
Yeah.
It's an incredible bit of acting, and I think they kind of tried to go there with Wahlberg, and he hasn't quite got the chops for it, but he does a good effort. It brought a tear to my eye, but it wasn't quite as visceral as what Hanks did in Captain Phillips. But it's a similar sort of ordeal. Well, I mean, it's even more horrific. I mean, they do actually pay a bit of service to the people that did die in it. There are a couple of moments where, someone goes out on a limb and it doesn't end well. John Malkovich is in this as well, playing a BP guy who are clearly depicted as the villains in this scenario.
Isn't John Goodman in it as well?
No.
Okay.
There's lots of familiar faces though from other things. Kind of felt like had that kind of swagger that what was the Bruce Willis film with the miners? It was the Armageddon. You know, it kind of had that sort of feeling to it.
Bruce Willis
For some
film
reason
with the
I was
miners.
thinking
Jesus.
For some reason I was thinking Chili.
I don't know. It just kind of reminded me of that. It's just like it was just people
Armageddon
doing.
Is top 10 guilty pleasure movie, definitely.
Well, yeah,
It's good,
definitely. Don't want to miss a thing.
Definitely not.
Leaving on a jet plane.
Yeah.
It was the first film that made me tolerate Affleck outside of Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But
yeah. So yeah, I would say Deepwater Horizon is a pretty decent movie. It wasn't one that I'd heard of. It just sort of came out of nowhere, and I saw the reviews were good, and it was like, what's on this week? So I thought I'd check that out. Hell or High Water is another good film that I saw recently. This stars What? It's just a conveyor belt
No,
of
it's
movies.
just, yeah.
It is, but
Finish work, went to the cinema. Finish work, went to the cinema.
basically it's like a weekly thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually did this as a double bill with Don't Breathe, which is funny,
Nice.
just because the times worked out. But anyway, yeah, this stars Jeff Bridges in fine form, and also Chris Pine. He's really good as well. And this is
Nice.
basically about a couple of brothers. It's like a western, but set in modern day, and they're going around robbing the banks. And it's more like the villain of it is the banks,
okay.
really.
Right.
Yeah, it's really cool. And Jeff Bridges is playing the sheriff, and his basically partner is like this Native American, and he's constantly taking the piss out of him, but with the greatest of affection. And shot really nicely. It's very funny. It's very witty, and it's got that kind of vibe like a show like Justified, which also it's reminded me of, because that itself is a modern day western, arguably. And yeah, it'll be like really funny, and then something really horrible will happen, and then something will blow up, and it's like, whoa, okay, we've shifted gears now. Yeah, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was directed by David Mackenzie, who previously did a film called Starred Up, which you might have seen. It's a prison movie with
with the English guy.
Jack O'Connell in. Yeah, and what's his name? Who's really good? Ben Mendelsohn was in that as well, playing that guy's dad. That was a good movie. So yeah, keep your eye on that chap. He's really good. So yeah, that was good.
I did watch the Purge election year, actually.
Did you?
All right.
Which was the third film in that series.
Have you watched them
all?
all?
Purge movie.
I've watched them all, yeah, so far.
Yeah. What do you think?
More of the same. Kind of interesting in that this one, it was sort of protecting a presidential candidate sort of thing, so it wasn't just...
Timely.
Obviously, you had your people going around and all that and crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Somehow they managed to take the most... It plays on my bugbear of films, which is if someone's inherently evil in a setting and that you know that this big bad evil event is coming, why don't they deal with them before letting them come back?
Right.
This set of girls come into the shop and they start one of them steals like a chocolate bar.
Right.
And the guy goes, hand it back. And she properly gives him an evil, Yo-Yo Gagore, Yo-Yo, what's her name out of Kill Bill's got nothing on this girl. She's like a satanic version of Rudy Huxtable.
Jesus.
And the thing is, and you know that this Purge event is coming up.
Yeah.
So then they come back in this car, literally decorated in Christmas lights with like masks and tutus and machine guns, and they're all sprayed gold and stuff. And they still don't take them out. They just let them. They scare them off, and then they'll come back again and start breaking into the place. And then you kind of think, how many chances are you going to give? Fortunately, they do get killed off by the other people that come into the show. But you kind of think, this is ridiculous. I know they're supposed to be the heroes of the show, but in this world, it's basically, this event happens, everyone is trying to kill you.
Yeah.
You're not being on the moral high ground. You're just creating.
Yes.
You're postponing death.
It's the worst
That's all you're
PvP
doing.
game ever.
You're
being an idiot.
Isn't the setup basically that this female...
once a year, murder is sanctioned.
Yeah.
It's basically like the Battle Royale
and she
Act,
wants
but
to stop it from happening.
Yep, she wants it to stop this year. So she goes after the founding fathers, and basically they start going after her, sending the government and hit squads and death squads. And funny enough, the trucks that were in the previous filmmaking appearance, I went, oh yeah, those. Those things again. Oh shit, better run. But the guy who's a Secret Service agent who's assigned to protect her, and he basically starts calling on these gangsters and stuff and everything else, and it all works out in the end. As well it can do. And you kind of think, yeah, I don't know. It felt more like another one in the series. You could definitely feel it was getting watered down.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was still just as creepy. How many times can you see a creepy gang of people?
Yeah. Oh, another scary mask. Oh.
Yep, masks, guns, stringing people up.
I do wonder if The Purge would make a good TV show, like a 10-parter.
Yeah.
Where there was kind of 5-6 episodes setting it up and putting everybody massive background character shit. 2 episodes of The Purge and 2 episodes of cleaning up afterwards.
Yeah.
Fallout. That might
Yeah.
work.
Sort of like a Fear the Walking Dead, but actually effective.
Yeah. Or like Ash vs. Evil Dead type thing, where it's just a little,
Yes.
you know what
Yeah.
you're going to get, but you can have a laugh with it along the way. And
I think
Do a bit more
HBO should do that.
I think they do it very well, but they've got other shit to do, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
the problem
true.
is though that they made this for $10 million and it's made 80. So I think there'll be more movies, to be honest. Although,
No, I don't. To be honest,
That's all right.
I
I quite welcome them because they're kind of a bit like the Paranormal Activities and all the
Final
other sort of
Destinations and stuff. You know
horror
what you're
things.
going to
Yeah,
get.
exactly.
It's just
There's
a different
more
version of the same
yeah.
thing.
yeah.
When the next one comes out, I'll watch it.
If they were still making Final Destinations and Paranormal Activities, I'd still be watching them.
I think it's a great idea for a show though, because I think over the course of several hours you might actually give more of a shit when these people start getting offed.
Yes, because the most exciting part about the movie really is the start of the killings.
Yeah.
And you get about 5-10 minutes of, don't forget to have a safe, what's the expression they use for...
Oh,
it's
God.
like it's not be careful out there, but there's a very fixed term about, I hope you're going to be alright, I hope to see you tomorrow type stuff. I can't
Yeah,
remember what
be
it is.
safe. It's really weird. But the thing is, it's really odd because in the first one, you had like families. It showed families being set up, so your neighbours and all that, and everyone would be like having dinner with each other and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it happens, the same people are then trying to
Yes,
break
but
into your house.
What I liked about
and
the
kill
first
you.
one was the implication was if you remain friends with this person throughout the year, they are less
Yeah.
likely to purge you when the purge is going
Yeah.
on, which is
Yeah.
kind of a thing about life, really.
Yeah.
If you don't have to like, I love my neighbours, you're lovely. I have never met them, to be honest, but there are people who will befriend people so they can get things from them, and this is just an extension of that.
Yeah.
If I don't
It's
piss you off,
survival. It's
you
a
probably
survival
won't kill
instinct,
me.
though.
The what, sorry?
Yeah. It's a survival instinct.
Yeah.
If
and
you've
what
made
commercial-
friends with people, you're part of a pseudo pack of sorts.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
they know you out of the area that you're in, so they're less likely to turn around
Yeah.
and try
And
and kill
the,
you
the,
with a
the sequels haven't
hammer.
really done that. They've just gone a bit
No.
Mad Max sequel-y, where it's just
Yeah, it's
here's
this
the
one's
thing, and
more
it's all
about
about this time. But it's the same.
this one's more about an underground movement trying to take out the forefathers and stuff
Yeah.
as well,
and
that's
I
kind
do-
of tacked onto it. And
Yes.
you're like, okay,
I think most films like this, the mythos and the lore is pretty paper thin. And when
Yeah.
you start digging into it, like the Paranormal Activities, the first couple of those were great, but when you started going into the witches and after
Yeah.
the one where the witches were heavily part of it, it just started becoming the idea that this came from was tiny. You should have stopped expanding that a couple of movies ago.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes up its own arse, but
yeah. To be honest, if there are any more, if they do another one, it is going to go the way of all films these days, in which there's going to be a great big portal opening up in the sky.
okay.
That is the only way that these things can go. I mean, there's going to be a great big portal in the sky, and the only way to stop it is a small dog called Cujo or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or they could, maybe start combining
Or
it
the
with
chosen
something
one
else.
who was a witch is no longer a witch, is now living in a school. You know.
Talking of witches, I've got one more film I'd like to quickly mention.
Oh.
Kubo and the
Nicely
Two
done.
Strings is a stop-motion animation movie by Leica, who previously did Box Trolls and a few other things. But yeah, this is fantastic. Basically, it's about a young boy who's got one eye, but he goes into town. He can play these tunes that basically animate paper and create these kind of origami scenes that play out in front of him. He's clearly a bit magic. His mum's a bit magic too. But yeah, his grandfather is after him. He wants to steal his other eye. So that's no good whatsoever. So they embark upon a quest to find his father's, or his estranged and late father's suit of armour, which includes a sword as well. And so he...
Doesn't it always?
Yeah, and he meets up with a beetle and a monkey, and they go in a boat made of paper, and yeah, it's really trippy, but it looks incredible, and it's got great music, and it's all stop motion, as they like to remind you at the end credits, where you actually see them animating this fucking thing that takes up an entire warehouse. It's really quite impressive. But yeah, I watched that. That was really good. And
is it heartwarming or just a bit dark, or what's the?
It's a bit sort of Star Warsy. I think it's like it's kind of that sort of fantastical, magical experience, and you totally lose yourself in it. And
Your magical experience.
thank you. I'll take that.
Okay, well, that sounds. A lot of people have said good things about that. So
Yeah, it's really worth checking out. I don't know if it's done that well, but yeah, whatever. This has been the Not Watching Podcast in partnership with notlistening.co.uk, where you can also hear myself and Ian talk about video games and virtual reality on the Not Playing Podcast, and Adam, Ash and Will talk about all manner of funny things on the Not Listening Podcast. The episodes are up now. You can email us at notwatchingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet at or follow us on Twitter at notwatchingpod. You can find the show notes for this show at notlistening.co.uk, and if you're listening to us on iTunes, then please do give us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. See ya!
Kuna Matata. Just before we start, as an aside, my wife wants to go and see Mechanic Resurrection.
That's better.
Obviously, John's away enjoying
I
married
can breathe.
life, so he can't do it.
We
But-
should have Skyped him.
Yeah, we could have done.
From Hawaii.
That would have annoyed us if he had a camera with him.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. He's got one of those GoPros, and it's just like pointing over his shoulder.
Yeah.
So my wife wanted to see Mechanic Resurrection because it had, and keep in mind my wife is Russian,
Yeah.
because she really likes that Jason statement.
Oh, brilliant.
The
Oh,
statement.
bless her. She's so lovely.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, did you mishear her? And she says she likes Jason's statement.
I said, it just threw me completely. Who is Jason's statement? Is he in Mechanic Resurrection as well as Statham? What's going on?
I want to see that in big letters. Jason's statement. I'm making a statement.
Yeah. You slaves.
My name's Jason and I'm making a statement.
What are you doing? Can't you see my statement?
Oh dear.
Don't worry, I'll punch him in the face.
Well,
Okay.
that's an outtake.